All right. Series everyone's been waiting for. We're going to start this one off in the top right-hand side of the map here in the Douyu Cup Group C Day 1. The first match from the Red Zerg himself. It is Serral coming out of the DreamHack season finals with a victory. Big for him. I feel like a big confidence boost back. Winning a tournament, a big tournament once again. And we'll see how he does in the Douyu Cup here today, as in the bottom left, our blue Protoss player is Zest. And Serral is going to not just 15 hatch, he's going to 14 hatch to guarantee he gets the hatchery in the right place without the block. So this for Serral, it's still an early hatch. You cut drones to make this happen, but the plus side of this is you do get the hatchery in your natural, and this early probe of Zest is then wasted mining, right? And you can still be annoyed with this probe, but it's not going to do anywhere near as much as it would have initially wanted to. So definitely not what Zest wanted right away, and that's already a slight win for Serral off the bat of this here in game number 1 of what is a best of 3 series. Just a quick mention, if this one goes up on the YouTube, hello all my YouTube fans and viewers. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you don't already for more great uploads, as well as that like button so we can beat the YouTube algorithm. Look at that as well. Pool before the extractor here, so slight difference to usual from Serral. And the pool around the back of this mineral line as well is also a bit of an odd location. Feels very almost exposed in a way, right? To, like, you know, a prism comes in here, pool around the back. I don't know. It's one of those things which I guess if this was like ZvT, I'd be more worried about it. Just, yeah, pool behind the mineral line, not something you see every day. And Serral will throw a few of these workers into the gas, get that mining. And back at home from Zest, we've not talked much about what he's up to yet, but there's not been much to say. He will take a second gas. He'll get ready to go into his tech structure very shortly here. We have seen Zest playing some Stargate play today, and we'll see if he sticks to that, or if he maybe wants to go around, you know, a different way about this, maybe into like a Twilight Council, something that we've seen a little bit more of recently. You know, a little bit less of recently, but we've still seen some of it, and it is going to be Warp Gate starting straight away, which is a pretty good indicator we are going to be seeing that Twilight Council, in which case we've seen a lot of Dark Templar play out of Zest, as Serral will scout into the main as well, so he wants to kind of show up as the Twilight gets placed. You can see that Zest relocates the Twilight positioning to the bottom of the main to kind of fix that up, but there's no Stalker here right away, so Serral is going to get straight in with the main Overlord, and he's going to see that Twilight Council, even if he had to go pretty deep. So just putting that Twilight Council to get this Overlord killed? I don't think so. I think the Overlord gets into the back bottom left in plenty of time, as we do see our first Adept of Zest will make its way across, but shouldn't be much of a problem for Serral. He's got 2 Queens at the front, he's got a couple Lings out, and the thing is, off a Twilight opening, you never really want to lose this Adept, because even if you don't go Glaives, you actually need the Adepts to really hold your third base against a big Ling counter, so it's never really good to shade this Adept in and commit to that shade in, right? That never really makes a lot of sense. It never really works out. It is going to be Glaives, so then, of course, very self-explanatory as to why those Adepts are very good. As Serral, definitely not rushing his way to a third base or anything yet. And I was about to say, it's definitely past that time, so he's going to do something a little bit different. He's going to go for a very fast lair. Now, you guys might remember Serral against... I can't remember who it was exactly, but Serral did play against somebody in the DreamHack event. I think it was Showtime. And in that Serral Showtime series, Serral went for a pretty fun build on Pillars of Gold involving some Hydras and stuff, and it didn't really work out. And he said, wow, usually I played this build 50 times in practice, and I didn't lose the game with it. I wonder if we've seen something funky here, because again, that's a pretty fast lair, bit of a faster Roach Roaring than necessary as well. We'll see what his response or how his hold against these Adepts will go, as we see the extra gates are on the way through, so that's 4 gates in total, as expected. And Zest just doing what Zest does best in the last few months, which is just making Adepts. Now, with the very fast Roach Roaring, you immediately get Roaches on the way. I wonder if there's just a fast lair to go into Roach speed quickly, and then you can have a lot of counter potential when you clean the Adepts up. It does mean that Serral is going to be playing with a low Ling count. Usually, if you play a higher Ling count, you build a lot of Lings initially, and then you follow up with the Roaches. And that does take away some of your mobility for helping to deal with these Adepts, as the first shade will threaten into the natural. Well, there are going to be Roaches right there. There's only 3 of them, but Zest doesn't commit. So Zest will just back away. The Queens were hunting for that Prism. And now a few Lings on the way to help dissuade that from happening, as we do see the Prism will set up in the main base. Looked like Serral kind of knew about it, as the Adept also shading into the natural. So here comes the real test. Moldy Prong from Zest in 2 different locations. Serral Well, loses 2 drones to begin with here. He has a good amount of roaches on the low ground here. 6 drones already going down, though, and Serral's worker count is going to drop heavily. 9 workers down. These queens here in this main, I mean, they're going to push these adepts away. They should get some of these kills. There's actually only 2 adepts that were already shading. Can he get them? He gets one. He doesn't get the other. There's one more low health adept. The roaches here as well. And we are going to see a few new adepts already showing up. 10 drones down. I mean, there's going to be 12 workers down. I mean, this is a lot of drone damage taken from Serral. The thing is, he kills the prism. Oh, no! Oh, my God, he kills the prism. I'm about to say there's a bit of a counterattack potential, right? Because you've got a good army supply, but maybe Zest can buy time. But losing the prism, Zest says, that's enough for me. I'm just out the game, despite all that drone damage. Top left-hand side, we do have our red Zerg player able to take that first game. It is Serral. And taking that first game and going up 1-0. Best of 3 series against Zest. The blue Protoss bottom right. Super early probe across the map once more. And Serral is once again going to change. Well, okay, this time he's going to change it up. So this time he doesn't go for the 14 hatch. This time he's going to try and just go 17 hatch. We'll see the probe. And so he sent this drone down early enough. He can get to the 3rd base in time to just get that down. So he doesn't wait around for his minerals or anything. And he will just be able to 17 hatch in the 3rd base location. So that's a good way to go about this. As you just see our gateway building from Zest in the front of the natural. And waiting to see what his choice will be for game 2. Because I think it is kind of down to what Zest does here to kind of show us how these games are going to go. And I like Serral's, way of changing up some 2 base roaches that last game. With this hatchery forced over here, not caring to try and get this hatch down on the natural location. I imagine that he's going to try and go for a 3 base style this time. So something a little bit different from Serral from the start. And it's fun seeing some Zerg openers that are that little bit different. As you just have the Nexus on the natural from Zest into the Cybernetics core. And, well, like I was saying in the previous Zest series, this is a good map. If he wants to play the Stargate, and he's played Stargate at least once in every series he's played today, this is not a bad triple Oracle map. There's plenty of dead airspace over here, behind this main, to the left over here. Plenty of space for those Oracles to hide out, wait around, strike again. And that could be a good way of setting up into 3 and then 4 bases. And then I was talking about this earlier, which is this is not a bad map to play like 4 base into carriers and then trying to stop the Zerg getting up to 5 bases, because 5th base is a little bit further out there. And again, with the dead airspace, there's some potential. I don't mind this one for, aiming for a later game as the Protoss. And of course, the Stargate opener would really help you get there. I'm talking all about this Stargate. It doesn't matter because it is Warpgate Star, and it is going to be the Twilight Council setting up. Twilight Council will build in the main. Just going to see Link speed about halfway done. We do have the drone of Serral going to move down to the natural. This hatchery building up as well, and still just seeing the Ling making its way back up to the top side. So a couple Lings will join up on the 3rd base. The Adept coming around, and again the Zergling speed of Serral already setting up. So that Zergling speed coming through the robotics facility on the natural. Now Stalker going to push this Overlord up to the high ground there, so Overlord will get pushed away. And we wait to see what comes out of the Twilight Council. I'd imagine you go Dark Shrine this time. The Throw was in position to build it as well. But yeah, this was not a it's not really the, I don't think it's the map for Glaives. I don't think it's I don't think you go Glaives after you went Glaives in game 1, and I guess the Glaives itself didn't do badly, right? But yeah, I don't know, like maybe you could have gone Glaives again. I think it's always good to change up what you're doing, and Dark Shrine this time, and especially because it feels like this is, the way that the Koreans are playing Dark Shrine openers right now feels a bit different to how it's played in Europe. And maybe that's something that Serral is not quite as experienced against, right? Maybe he's not as experienced with the sending DTs in different directions and just keeping one Archon in the Prism, some of the stuff we saw in some of the earlier PvZ today, which is even pretty fresh to me, and I try and cast as much of these Korean games as I can. So, it's not unheard of, right? But we saw multiple players doing it frequently, which makes me think this is a pretty popular way of going about it. Right now, Serral is setting up for the Adept attack, but he's also going to add on those spores, one on each mineral line, so you should not really be caught off guard by the Dark Templar in the slightest. Of course, the Lings and Roaches still act as a good buffer against the DTs and then against the Archons, which morph in as a follow-up as well. So expecting a bit more of that as we see our Prism. Gets the first 3 DTs already started up, and we'll look to jump across into the main. Perhaps these few Lings moving out and going to see those DTs setting up at the moment. They're straight in there, but they don't actually get any kills. The Queen's staying alive. They have transfusions to trade out if they want to keep themselves healthy, but won't use that yet as Serral just goes for a huge round of drones, starts to lair extra Overlords. Doesn't even build any Roaches just yet, just fully confident in being able to defend this with the Lings, and Zest goes a long way off to go and warp in his extra DT. Looks as though it will just be 4 DTs into 2 Archons. No extra DTs to go elsewhere. Doesn't feel like you can catch Serral off guard with any of that, so yeah, Zest is going to get those Archons morphed and then going to continue the harassment now. Serral's next step, Lair on the way up, Roach speed, and I guess, well, the popular way to go about this is to start making your way to melee upgrade and then into the Lingbane Roach Ravager. And we've not really seen a lot of that develop through to the point where it really plays out into like a much longer game, but that is generally the idea. Let's see, as we have got Archons through the top side. So again, looking for some harassment, looking to keep Serral busy. Serral on the other side of the map looking to try and cancel a third base. It's not over on this side. Maybe, I mean, he should know the third base is down there, right? So maybe just wants to park these Lings out here and look for any opportunities. I mean, these Adepts are going to run up to try and fight them. I'm not sure what Zest is trying to do here. It sounds like, well, okay. Like, I mean, it feels like Zest, you know, Serral's the one that would love to fight right now, and Zest just invites him to fight. He cleans up the Lings, but it comes at the cost of his Adepts, which aren't that bad. I mean, Adepts are not super useful as the game goes on. And then it does cost him a Sentry, but no, I guess he cleans up a lot of Lings, so yeah, I guess it isn't super terrible for him. Blink is on the way in +1 start, and his Zest's follow-up has continued to harass with these Archons as well. Has killed off 2 Queens so far in the game. With those Link kills too, I mean, you actually look at a scenario where Zest has traded pretty well throughout in the early stages. First, we're going to be finishing. We do see the Queens down the right side. A 4th hatchery up on the top, and just seeing this Ling moving around a little bit. Just going to have our Temple Archives about to finish in the main. The gateways from Zest already building in the main base as well. The Overseer flying through the natural and going to go up into the main. So Overseer will be able to get up into the main base there. The melee upgrade about halfway done. And there's that Prism Spore Crawler straight on top of the Prism and putting some damage onto it. The Queen trying to come in as well. Archons will get the Queen kill. I like what the Archons have done as Serral actually takes this top side 4th base. Generally a more difficult one to hold. I don't think it's as much of an issue for Zerg as it would be if Zest was to try and hold this 4th base, which he has tried to do in PvZs before, and I believe me and Harston were casting the game, and we both had a bit of a question mark as to what he was trying to get done by expanding here instead of the easier held high ground base up here. So I do enjoy seeing this 4th base from Serral though, and just staying to the top side of the map. Very deep on creep basically, right? You know, very hard to push across into this position. You got to go through this avenue or down this ramp, and yeah, that feels a little bit tougher than maybe getting over to this left-hand side. Destination continues to move around. The Spire in the back of the 3rd base. Our Ravagers, Roaches, and Banes already going to take a turn onto this set of rocks over here. So rocks already going to be knocked down, opening up the map. So just giving himself more options for an army that's up here, maybe more ways to flank into it. Zest is just embracing the later game, takes the 4th base, has not moved out aggressively. As Serral goes to +2 melee, he's going to be supported by this Spire and the potential to add Mutalisk into his play. And we'll see what they do as the Overseer into the main. He'll take a couple shots from a cannon, sees this Prism. One of the big things about the Spire, right? You'll be able to get a few mutas out. This Prism's not going to be able to stay on the map any longer harassing, so its time has basically come already. And Zest is going to use that Prism on the left side and then make an attack up the right. Apparently is going to be the way to do this. Turn out the rocks, 11 meters on the way. If the mutas go counter-attacking, Zest is pretty well set up. The natural here is maybe the weakest of all. The natural and the main are pretty weak. The third and fourth base, well, the fourth doesn't have anything on it, but the third is pretty... Okay. You know, I started this off by looking at the third. Like, well, 2 cannons and shield barrier. This is good against mutas. The rest of the bases don't really have much. So there's definitely openings for those mutas. If they actually just see the zealots that are trying to run around the left side, well, Serral will just see that and send units across to deal with it. No baneling speed yet, though, from Serral. I think that's something which he's kind of forgotten about here, because that Bane Nest has been done for a while. Well, no Bane speed means the Storms are generally going to get a little bit more done, but the High Templars are quite far back. The Storms are really good there. I mean, the Lings have just got full surrounds on these Immortals. There's no Storms to kind of free those Immortals at all. Now the mutas get over here. The one base that was looking good, battery and the cannon goes down. Serral has to cancel the base on the left. He's dealing with that Zealot Archon run by, which he spotted coming with the mutas on the left side as well. So Serral just defending across the board at the same time. That's putting a lot of pressure on right now. Mutas in this main base. Gonna get the cannon. A few Stalkers warping in. The mutas get turned around. I mean, Serral just defends and attacks on all fronts. And Zest is the one that's going to come out in trouble as Serral just continues to find a few extra probes here and there. And he is just going to fly in and just going to pick off this cannon. There's a few more of these probes going down, so a few extra kills and of course dead airspace. We talked about it earlier from the Protoss point of view, but from the Zerg point of view, that's a safe space for your Mutalists if there's no Stargate in place. So they are just going to sit out over there as we see a few extra Zealots, the Archon, all of this setting up on that right-hand side. And we just fly back through 11 probes. They do fall, and the Stalkers will continue to blink in, chasing down those mutas. Just go back into the main base, and again, looking to see what else they can do. A couple of these probes go down as well. I mean, this is 15 workers on top of everything that happened earlier. So Zest kind of running around, trying to see what he can get done. The rest of the Stalkers out the front, and still trying to get some damage. A few Banes on the right, Ling Ravage from the left. The Stalkers blink out of trouble. And I want to say that Zest is kind of, doing some things to keep himself alive, but if it wasn't for the mutas have just found so much damage that I feel like that's the sort of damage that becomes almost irrecoverable. Just see Bane's going to roll in. The Zealots on the top right. Not going to have much fun at all. The Stalkers on the bottom are caught as well. And Zest has no option other than a GG to give us a game number 2 and a series to Serral as Serral starts off his Douyu Cup campaign with the 2-0 victory.